Hey everyone, we've got a new video today. It's about painting resin. Now resin is probably the hardest thing I have to do as far as Games Workshop is concerned, and painting it. Most of the kits you'll get are from Forge World, so you got this type of resin. I always forget which side's which, but that's the usual Forge World type of resin, okay, which is the grey version. Another type of resin you can get, which as you saw recently in my videos, was this type of resin, which is the sort of white version, and again similar sort of thing. This one's a bit more shiny, you can see that on the bottom. It just called Moore's problem that it's shiny. Painting resin, you cannot straight away use the Chaos Black, okay, you can't use your Chaos Black spray straight away. If you do that, you're going to end up with similar effects, which I'm going to show in a moment. Just not good. It won't stick properly, it'll start peeling, and you'll ruin your models later on. I've read a lot of the forums and stuff on how to paint resin and stuff, but this is, you know, I've tried quite a few methods, so I'm going to go through a few. Myth busting some of the ones that aren't working and ones that you shouldn't use. Plastitote first. Super satin stuff. Again, not great. A cheap way if you want quick spray on it, it ends up with a rubbery coat. This one's been done in Plastitote. You can just see on the edges, trying to get a good edge so you can see where there's these spaces and gaps. It leaves a very shiny rubbery coat. Now it's not too bad, you know, it's not too bad, but it goes on very thick, and it's, you know, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want very, very quick models, you know, it is a tough coat, it doesn't scratch off or anything, so, which is one of the problems with resin, it scratches off, so it won't peel. So it's a cheap solution as such, because you only need one can of it. But personally, you know, if you're doing these models and that, the whole point of resin is to get much more higher detail models, and if you're using something like that, which obscures the detail, you know, it's not great at all. So that's what that one comes like. The other one I've heard a few people are saying is take car spray, okay, which is, this one is your satin black from Halfords, which is a UK shop. Now spraying directly with that, a little tip straight away says, for best use, use the grey primer. So maybe it's not best to spray straight away. Again, similar things to the Plastitote. It's a better coat than the Plastitote, so I'd recommend this one over if you're just going to buy one. But again, if you see on the edges, it goes on thick and leaves this sort of mottled effect on the edges, which is not great. So it's not brilliant. It's very shiny still. So again, cheap way if you want to do that, but we're not after that. We're after the, you know, the right way, the professional way, the proper way to do it. Okay. So, grey primer, car primer, this is the one. Grey car primer is what you want. Use your Chaos Black and your Skull White are primers, okay, so you usually use them when you're doing priming of the standard mould, your plastics and stuff like that. But with these resin ones, you need something more substantial. Forge World themselves recommend a car primer, and the results from that are far, far better. Okay, they are really good. I'm going to show you them now. Okay. The only thing I'll say is that, well, I'll go over a few points when we're doing it about maybe, I know I've seen forums where going, well, you spray with the grey, then you spray with the black, and then you paint. You got to be careful, and I'll come to the little pitfalls later. But here we go. So this is the primed black. As you see, it's not shiny. So it's primed with the grey car primer, and I've done a light coat. I mean light because if I just find the edge, you'll see, you might be able to see, just on that edge, you can still see grey speckles. It's a very, very light spray of Chaos Black over the primer once it's done, and the coat of that is far better than the the plastic totes and that. You lose the shininess as such, and you get a nice effect. So yeah, so this is the way I recommend. This is what I'm going to show you, using the grey primer with a Chaos Black. Now, because the grey primer is a primer, you don't necessarily have to go back over with Chaos Black. If you're using an air gun and a spray gun or something like that, say you're using, you know what, for instance, my Nurgle Play Marines, I'm going to spray them with the primer, and then I'm going to spray them with the air gun. So I'm going to use Astronomicon Grey and spray with that, with the air spray. You don't need to do a coat of Chaos Black before you do that. It is a primer, so it will stick, and the thing you got to be careful is the more layers you put on, obviously the more detail you're going to obscure. So you've got to be very careful. Now with the bases, I do want these Chaos Black afterwards, okay? I'm not going to hand paint them all, so like I said, I'm going to spray these with Chaos Black, but when I'm doing that, you've got to make sure very light coats, okay? Do not use lots. Now the last thing I'm going to say about resin is, a lot of people said, again, I've seen a lot of comments about, oh, the reason you're getting bad sprays is, you know, it's not cleaned off the mould, the release agent from the moulds. Basically, they're formed the same way, so you've got to have a release agent in the thing, and it leaves a powder sometimes. Now, I've seen Forge World models, they're not too bad, but these Foundations of War stuff with a lot of release agents, so what I've done is just put them in some soapy water, nothing special. People say it's like simple green and all this, you don't need it. Just some soapy water, dry it off, and then spray with the car primer. It's simple as that. I think what people have been misleading themselves with is that if they do a really good rub in this, and the reason the paint isn't sticking is because of the release agent and all this. It's not really true. People have been using the wrong sprays. It's got to be a grey car primer, okay? That is the best stuff for resin. It's as simple as that. So grey car primer, that's the stuff. Do not use anything else. You know, like I said, you can use the plastic and you can use them. They do work, but you get the effects like I showed before, the shininess and obscuring of detail. So it's cheaper just to get a can of the primer and then use your Chaos Black or what you've already got. Again, you can hand paint over your primer. It is it's just a primer. It's a base coat, just like your Chaos Black, just like your Skull White. It's a base coat, so don't think of it as something like you've got to paint straight over it or something. You can straight paint on the grey, yeah? So it's not an issue. And again, I would recommend more using the grey primer and then spraying the models with an keep it an air spray, spray gun with one of your paints in it. And if you do that, you're getting a thinner coat and you're going to get more detail out. So that's what I'd recommend. So yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you on this one done earlier. I just dried it, put it in soapy water like you see, clean it up a little bit, and dried it. Again, don't spend hours scrubbing it and stuff like that. You don't need to, okay? So we're just going to go outside. I'm going to spray it with the primer first. I'm going to show you how to spray properly, and then we're going to show you how to do the Chaos Black on it, okay? Because this is, you know, a lot of you guys out there might not have the spray, the air guns and stuff like that to do the spraying of the paints, so you might have to put like a Chaos Black on there for ease sake. But if you're doing white, and you know, I'd just paint straight on the primer, to be honest. There's not much difference. But again, it's not an issue. That the Chaos Black goes quite well over it, and you shouldn't have too many problems. It doesn't obscure too much detail, if any. Okay. Right, the last thing I want to say, just forgot about that, is the warming up of spray cans, okay? Because you're going to see, do this with any spray can. A lot of people say, how do you spray properly? Get it grey and stuff like that. Put your can in some warm water like this, and just leave it in there. Shake it first, put it in, leave it in there for a little bit to warm the can up. Now, not like boiling water, just hot out the tap, warm water, okay? And that will make the chemicals and stuff, it'll just churn it all up, and that's what you want. The more you do that, the better. I'm going to show you a few more outside, but you need to shake it for about 2 to 3 minutes. The more shaking, the better. Shake the poo out of it. Shake it a lot. Shake it, okay? And the more it shakes, the better it is. And do that with every can you've got, okay? So you need to do that before we go outside.